It's the George Plaster Show. 30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. Featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Watson Brown. And it's a shame it's taken this long to get an introduction for this Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer, Kelly Holcomb, along with young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in on what has turned into a rainy night in Georgia. Man, it was pouring down here a little while ago. The good news is supposedly this stuff will be out of here by about 4 o'clock, and then we can get on with regularly scheduled programming already in progress. Let's go to Murfreesboro, check in with the long-lost Kelly Holcomb, who we have not seen in a while. Kelly, how are you?
I'm good, George. How y'all doing? Can you hear me?
We hear you fine.
Okay, good. How's Billy doing? I mean, what kind of gym shoe operation have we been running the last couple of days?
Are you referring to the show as a gym shoe operation?
I'm referring to your car as a gym shoe operation, and then the show as a gym shoe operation
I can't
as well.
help my tire luck is the worst tire luck in the world. I mean,
I would suggest putting air in the tire.
There was air in there's potholes everywhere in Nashville.
There are potholes.
Discount tire, homie. Discount tire. Go buy you a new tire.
I was there today. I got me a new tire, but knowing my luck, I'll hit a pothole again.
Here's an idea. Veer around them.
I mean, it was it was bad.
Billy, all these excuses that you're giving me, I mean, we don't need to hear about the labor pains. Just show us the baby, dude. You know what I'm saying?
Hey,
if life gives you lemons, make lemonade.
Correct.
I'll admit it was a mistake on my part, but we
know. It's a fileable offense. I'm gonna try at some point to get George to find you at some point, but he's not really stepping up to the plate so far.
Let's relax a little bit on
that. Did you miss me yesterday, Billy?
I did. Kelly, I miss you every time you're on the show.
Oh, here we go.
I mean, what was so what happened to you? Where were you yesterday?
I had to go get my brain checked out, man. I've had some I don't know. It's not a laughing matter, but sometimes it is a laughing matter. But yeah, I've had some not bad issues, but just some issues that's kind of concerning in a man that's 50 years old. I mean, George is 74 and he's still got a good memory. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not 74. Now, I will say this. I felt 74 when I woke up today, but no, I'm not yet 74. Thank you, though, for your consideration. For your friendship,
How is that old knee doing, George? Is your knee getting better?
The knee is doing well, thank you. That was.
Are you gonna have to have? I bet you had a little feel good shot in there, didn't you?
Yes, we did.
There you go. Okay, so it's back to good right now. It's going to eventually catch up with you, though, big dog. You're going to have to go under the needle.
We don't like that idea. That's not what we're looking for. Billy, tell me at this point that you have an update with information vital to the needs of a sports fan.
I do. This isn't necessarily sports, but there was a fatal crash.
Oh, gosh.
Right off Charlotte Pike on I-40. 5 people have died, and they're investigating what happened. Just awful. I actually drove by it on the way over here, and it did look like a smaller private jet, and they had tracked it from Kentucky to, I guess, Canada. It kind of it was an interesting route. They have the routes and everything online, but yeah, just awful situation. It's been all over the news.
Yeah.
So want to pray for any victims and families of the victims there. Also tonight, Preds back in action, trying to go for 9 in a row against the Canadians. 7 o'clock puck drop. Kelly, we talked about it.
Kelly, they'll wait until I get there to drop the puck.
crazy, George. What's in the water down there at the Bridgestone Arena, man?
If I knew, no, let me take this back. Let me give you a for real answer. If they knew, man, they'd bottle it.
Yeah.
You know, virtually everything has been going the way they want it to go now for a couple of weeks.
How far have they moved up, George, with the playoff stuff, with the points?
They're 5 ahead. Okay, they're in the 8th spot.
Okay.
But they're tied for 7th with the LA Kings. LA's played 2 less games. I'm trying to do this by memory. They're 5 ahead of St. Louis. They're 7 ahead of Calgary. And really, at this point, those are the only 2 teams at the moment that feel like they matter.
Wow.
St. Louis won last night. Calgary did not.
So, yeah, it's scoreboard watching season.
I do a lot of it.
Yeah. So, Preds and Canadians tonight. Canadians are not very good. They're 23-28. They're not awful, maybe like the Sharks or the Ducks, but this is a game the Preds should win tonight.
Let's not go there. Let's hold our horses.
I mean, you can agree this is a game they should win.
Yes.
I'm not saying they will.
One word for you, Anaheim.
What do you mean?
They've lost twice to Anaheim this year in games that, quote, they should have won.
At home, right? Because, I mean, they've had a lot of those at home where they, definitely should beat the
team. Where they've pooped the bed.
Yeah. Okay, so no.
I just thought I'd let you know that.
Preds Canadians tonight. Also in hoops, pretty big night of SEC action. Alabama is at Florida at 6 o'clock on ESPN.
That'll be a terrific game because Florida has gotten a lot better.
Yeah, Florida's playing well. Alabama's kind of reeling after that loss to Tennessee on Saturday night. That's at 6. Also at 6, Ole Miss is at Georgia. Ole Miss, I don't think they're making the tournament, but I mean, if they have any shot to kind of go on a run here late, they got to win tonight. And then Auburn is at Missouri. Missouri's 0-16. See if the Tigers can get their first win of the season.
We project Auburn to win that game.
Yes. Auburn is, let's see what they are, 11.5-point favorites.
Yeah. When you're a double-digit favorite on the road in the SEC, one of 2 things is happening. Either you're really good or they suck. One or the other. Or both.
It's a little bit of both, don't you think?
Mm-hmm. I was thinking, Vandy went 0-18 that year under Bryce Drew. Missouri's on the ropes here. They might go 0-18. I feel like that's a hard thing to do. I mean, I know when you're bad, you're bad. But how can you not get at least one? And I know the SEC's good. And Kelly, I know I'm not picking on you here. I know you've been on some bad teams, but never winless, right? I mean, it's got to be hard to go winless in a season, especially basketball.
Yeah, but it's also hard to win a game too. I mean, it's not easy. I mean, that is like you've got other kids on scholarship. Other guys are getting paid on the other team. I mean, it's hard to win a game, especially in the National Football League where I play. I mean, it's hard. Like you put all your energy for a whole week. You work out, you watch film, you study at home, you study with your teammates. You try to get, nutrition, you try to stay hydrated. There's just so much that goes into it that people don't see. And it's tough to win, man. It's like the PGA Tour. I like the PGA Tour watching that stuff, man. Golf and you think this guy's going to win who hadn't won ever. And then all of a sudden this other guy, it happened a couple of weeks ago, and I forget the guy's name, but it was the guy from Canada who beat, I forget his name, but he's an older guy that hadn't won in a while, and we all thought he was going to win, and then he loses. And I'm like, good gracious, it's just so hard to win at any sport when you get to that level.
Well, it's hard to win in baseball, too. The Braves learned that last year, George, losing to the Phillies, the kryptonite of the Braves here the last 2-3 years. But they're expecting Ronald Acuna Jr. to be ready for opening day.
Bingo.
National League MVP.
Bingo.
So what was the issue? They didn't think he was – I mean, how long were you –
knee soreness is what they put it at.
Okay.
It's the meniscus issues.
Irritation in the meniscus,
when you're at his level and, I mean, they don't take a lot of chances.
He got Kelly, you'll probably relate to this. He had a funny quote in this ESPN article. I don't know when I'll play again, but I feel like I can play today. I can play every day, but I've got a boss. When they tell me you can play, I'll play. So even Acuna knows he's got to listen to the people above him when he can play. But is he fun to watch?
For the record, 22 days away.
From
hard to believe.
From Braves.
From Major League Baseball.
Opening day started here in a couple weeks on Wednesday with that series.
Yeah, I'm not talking about that. You mean where they go to
Tokyo,
Korea, or Tokyo, or somewhere?
You don't count that?
Well, I mean, the real beginning of the season is like March 28th, which seems a tad bit early if you've got a home opener in Detroit.
Yeah. Also, some big baseball news. Lucas Giolito of the Red Sox, right-hander, might miss the entire season with an elbow injury. One of the better pitchers in the league.
You know, he's had a weird career because there have been flashes of brilliance with him with the White Sox. There also he had the worst ERA in the league one year. I can't quite figure him out. But I know this, when he's right, he's pretty good. That's a shame. Red Sox need him.
Yeah. Also in the NFL, the Texans are going to re-sign tight end Dalton Schultz to a 3-year, $36 million deal. I think we saw that coming. I mean, he's one of the better tight ends in the league, and he played really well with C.J. Stroud this year. Not great news for the Titans, who have to continue guarding Dalton Schultz. But the Titans, I think they've got a pretty good tight end room with Chig, and they got to stay healthy, but I think the Titans, they need that tight end weapon to step up if they want to compete in that division. Also, Lipscomb faces off with North Alabama tonight in the ASUN tournament opener. The Bisons are 7.5-point favorite, and if they win, they'll likely play Stetson. But it's weird. We talked about it yesterday, Kelly, how they set it up.
Stetson would be on the road.
On the road at Stetson.
Yeah.
And Stetson's really good, so it's going to be tough.
This year Stetson's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lipscomb came off a game Friday. I was there. They were down 8 at the half. Rallied in the second half against Eastern Kentucky, who looked far more athletic. Yeah. But Lipscomb looked way better coached.
I was there too.
Yeah.
That's a fun Lipscomb team to watch especially when they're rolling at home like that. Here is the bracket here. So Lipscomb at the bottom got North Alabama tonight. And they will play, if they win, they will play the second highest remaining seed, which will likely be Stetson. But if there's an upset somewhere, say, EKU loses or Austin Peay or somebody, it'll get mixed up. But
so EKU is the one they're projecting.
Yes.
To come out of this league.
Yeah. And they're really good. They got a big 6'7" shot blocker.
Yeah, they're very athletic. I mean, from their years in the OVC, they're very athletic. I thought they lost their poise Friday night.
Yeah, they're
Coach
Kelly,
got a tee.
Kelly, I don't know if you're watching, but
I did. I watched it.
A.W. Hamilton, I think his name is. He's a great coach. He's done a good job there. He's in his 5th year, I think. But it looked like a psychopath.
Unhinged.
I mean, it was one of the worst eruptions I've ever seen because I was courtside right there. And I looked over at Lenny as he was, and Lenny was just, I think he knew it was coming. And Lenny's so cool, calm, and collected. But, man, Hamilton was enraged.
I don't think Lenny's heart rate ever goes up, man. All Lenny does is this.
Yeah.
That's what he does. But I tell you what, man, he is he's an unbelievably talented at the offensive side of the ball. I mean, he can. It's amazing. Like I know y'all watched the other night, but like on those out of bounds plays under the goal, they get guys wide open. Like, how does he design this stuff?
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, so they've got tonight North Alabama. It's never easy this time of year, but they'll be confident. They're at home. So we'll see what happens there. Also, Thursday, we got to wait till Thursday for Belmont. They'll play Valpo at 2:30 on Thursday.
They will take care of Valpo.
Yeah, I would think so. Valpo used to be a lot better.
Oh, that was in the Bryce Drew era.
Yes.
He played there, then he coached there, and then they kind of fell off. But if Belmont wins, they've got Northern Iowa, who is a pretty good team. But they should win that too. I mean, you got to think the Belmont, the way they're playing, similar to Lipscomb, both these teams are hot right now, and they've got a chance to win these tournaments.
It'd be very cool to see both of them make really good runs in these postseason tournaments. Yeah. Middle's deal will happen next week down in Huntsville. That's where their conference tournament is at what was the old Von Braun Center. I don't know what they call it now.
Wow.
So what seed did Middle get?
I don't know that it's been determined.
Oh, because they're not even done yet. My bad. That's my bad.
Yeah.
If it's next week, of course. That's a brain fart.
Well, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. All right, that's all I got.
You're done with the update?
Yep.
Okay. After the break, Tony Basilio will join us from Knoxville. He'll be on by phone, and so a lot of good stuff to talk with him about. Jeff, if you're watching, and I know you are, make sure that you're listening when Taylor Barnett comes on. We talk basketball with him every week, even though you think I'm incapable of that, and we'll enjoy it. So stay tuned.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, "You need to call Bart Durham." And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
I'm Watson Brown.
I'm Kelly Holcomb.
I'm Billy Derrick.
We're the George Plaster Show. We've been Nashville's best sports talk for the last 30 years. And you know what? We still are.
Catch us live weekdays from 2 to 4 p.m. Central Time in Nashville on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Also, the podcast version is available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Looking for more than just awards and trophies? Southern Trophy House is your one-stop solution. For over 60 years, their team has created lasting impressions with a personalized touch. From embroidery to screen-printed apparel to corporate awards, signs, and name badges, they have everything you need to keep your brand shining bright. With their knowledgeable customer service team, you can relax as they create, produce, pack, and ship merchandise and awards on time and on budget. That includes etched crystal awards, custom-cut acrylic, name badges, embroidered Richardson ball caps, banners, screen-printed T-shirts, laser-engraved Yeti cups, and knives. Recognize your hard-working team from Southern Trophy House, where they do their best to help you recognize your best. Located at 2705 Nolensville Pike in Nashville, give them a holler, 615-256-7295. Visit southerntrophy.com. Southern Trophy House, for all your personalization and recognition needs. Tony Basilio about to join us from Knoxville, and I guarantee you he appreciates an 8-game winning streak in hockey. Tony, I have no idea what's going on, but it is fun.
Oh my gosh, man. I mean, how much fun is that? And hey, look, I was starting to think I cursed the Preds, but the curse I was just telling Billy is when I found out from one of my friends in that coaching profession today that the word making its rounds is that Stackhouse has a $14.5 million buyout. Hey, sign me up for that curse any day of the week, George.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. But we move on, and I don't know, Billy, we got an echo and all that.
We're good. I think
we're good.
Yeah,
okay. Tony, I want to start somewhere that might surprise you a little bit. Last week, it got out that the recommendation is to go from a 12 to a 14-team playoff in college football. And I'm like, are we not kind of rushing this a little bit? We haven't even played a 12-team deal yet. Give me some of your thoughts.
They're realizing that a 12-team playoff is not a 12-team playoff. And so coaches and leagues are pushing for this, and athletic directors and presidents, because in a 12-team playoff, you get a whole lot of unhappy people. And so the idea behind a 14-team playoff is the SEC is guaranteed at least 3 spots. Some years will get 3 to 5. It's the big leagues looking out for the big leagues. They're not doing this. And also, let's get some more money while we're at it. So that's the impetus behind going from 12 to 14, when really, George, what they should have done the whole time was just go to 16. But that's too normal. We can't just do something normal. We have to, be half pregnant like we are in a lot of things with college sports.
Are you not shocked, though, deep down, that they ever went to 12 to begin with?
Well, no, not really, because they waited for the money to be that great, and the TV networks demand it. And look, if the TV networks went to them tomorrow and said, look, we found a couple $7 or $8 billion over XYZ years, if you guys will go to 32 teams, George, tomorrow they'd announce a 32-team playoff. You and I both know that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. On the SEC front, shouldn't they be confident enough in the quality of their competition to not have to do this? I mean, really, it shouldn't be a guarantee. It should be what is earned on the field.
Again, though, you and I both know what they want at the end of the year is to put their finger in the air and say, we are the number 1 league in America. And what that's going to come down to is number of teams in the playoffs that you can guarantee me. And we're going to look out for number 1, as long as looking out for number 1, means that we'll be able to make out like bandits. But you're right. I mean, you would think both those power leagues, you would think it would dawn on them that, hey, we're going to end up here in a really big deal. I mean, this is a great thing at the end of the day. A 12-team playoff for us, that's 3 or 4. That's 3 or 4 teams every opportunity every year. But no, it's going to come down to guaranteed number of teams. George, that's why eventually they're going to go, like you were saying, they're eventually going to go to 16. I mean, that's obviously going to happen.
Yeah, the math dictates it, because it's a very easy math.
And it's hard to make out of this deal that we are in 12 right now. I'm trying to prepare the Tennessee fan base. You got to go 10-2 in this league in the upcoming season to even have a sniff at a 12-team format. That's just the way it is. I mean, that is, and this year, if you look around some of the schedules, like the Missouris of the world, the Missouri, they don't play anybody. So several teams are going to end up 10-2, and there are going to be 10-2 teams left at the altar this year.
So let's go back to last Saturday night. I'd be curious the post-game feelings, because this is just me. The comeback in Tuscaloosa felt like a 1 seed doing it.
Really one of the more incredible results in the regular season that I've seen. And on a night where Dalton Connect didn't have his best stuff, that is just what it is it's just Rick Barnes saying, hey, you know what? I'm a little better than you are as a coach, because they used their full roster to do that. And look, Barnes has his detractors here. People would say, well, why can't he do that in March? To which I would say, hey, that's a great question, but this isn't March. And Tennessee is getting ready to win a league that is as good a Southeastern Conference in basketball as I can ever remember. This South Carolina team, Tennessee's getting ready to play tomorrow night over there, is not going to be easy. They are very good. They give you very little, the whole shebang. So, at the end of the day, I just simply think that this win the other night really is one of the great wins I've seen here in a long time, because that is an impossible place to play.
And
absolutely impossible.
And you are absolutely right. I've done a bunch of games in that Coleman Coliseum, and that is one of the tougher venues in the SEC to win at. And just look at some of the scores that Alabama has racked up on good people in that building this year. Listen, there's some 1 seeds that I'm not sure win in Tuscaloosa.
I mean, let's name names. I don't think Arizona does that. I don't think that Purdue team would do that. The problem with Alabama is Tennessee figured something out with them. And the something is this: they will not shoot a mid-range shot. And so they won't even shoot a mid-range shot when you give them a mid-range shot and you have somebody under the basket saying, do not drive. You drive, you're going to eat it. You drive, you're going to eat the ball here. Don't do that. Alabama, the other night, and you saw it, they were forced to play chuck and duck at the end. And they're firing up. Look, the Sears kid's a really nice player, but a 25-footer off balance into a triple team from him, come on now. And that's what they did in the final 3 minutes of that game. I mean, that is what the final 3 minutes consisted of. Tennessee just clamped those guys down, has the big guards to do it. Very few teams can do that to them, but Tennessee is one of them. And that's why this Tennessee team is really one to be reckoned with, because when the time comes in a couple of weeks, they can play the game any way you want to play it. And that's going to make them a scary customer come the tournament.
Oh, yeah. Look, let me try it this way. In your crystal ball of 1 seed possibilities, what do you think Tennessee has to do to get to number 1? In your mind, is it more what they do, or is it more what an Arizona or a North Carolina don't do?
I think it's down to Tennessee and Arizona for that final 1 slot. I think everybody else is pretty much going to go where they're going to go in terms of the 1 seeds. And I think Tennessee thinks that. And so, George, one way or another, it looks to me like if both those teams continue to win, okay, speaking of Arizona and Tennessee, if you just game this out, right, they're going to end up as the 1 and 2 seed in the West. Let's say we fast forward the clock to that, and we can just all agree they're going to end up as the 1 and the 2 seed in the West. At that point, would it really matter who the 1 is and who the 2 is? Other than this, from a Rick Barnes perspective, he is 1,000% when he's a 1 seed of going to the Final Four in his career. He was a 1 seed one time at Texas, and that was TJ4 team, and they went to the Final Four. So that's something Tennessee fans are hanging their hat on. There's no way Arizona would deserve a 1 seed ahead of Tennessee when Arizona this year, I'm talking about just 2024, has not played a ranked opponent in that league. How in the world, if you win the second best league and you run the gauntlet here down the stretch of Auburn in your building, Alabama down there, like you just said, I mean, that Alabama building the other night was reeling, rocking, and rolling. Nobody wins in that place. Then on the road at South Carolina. Then wrapping it up at home with a Kentucky team that you and I both know has borderline NBA basketball team. I mean, who else could have that kind of stretch drive? And somebody with a straight face, and I'm not saying this because I did the show in Knoxville. I mean, somebody with a straight face going to tell me you're just going to take a team out west. And Joe Lenardi said the reason is they've decided that they want a West Coast team to have the 1 seed in the West. Well, Lottie freaking Dottie, I want to be 8 feet tall and have Kelly Holcomb's, washboard abs. It ain't going to happen.
Wow. Kelly will comment at some point.
Yes.
So do you think this South Carolina thing tomorrow night, hard game, right to the wire, South Carolina wins? What do you think?
Oh, well, shock me. First of all, Barnes is really good in these return engagement games, which is why he wins like he does, George. He's just utterly fantastic in those spots. However, this South Carolina team's a real pain in the rear end. It could be that they just have a matchup over the Vols, and they're able to muddy the game up and be successful that way. The problem Tennessee has tomorrow night is going to be, how do I deal? And this is the 4-game gauntlet. You only have so much in your tank. You know this from calling that sport all those years. And there are certain games that are just spot games on a schedule. You've got a trip to Columbia, South Carolina. Yeah, they're having a great year. But it's sandwiched in between a trip to Alabama, which was for we all know, the league championship. And your kids can say, well, Carolina beat us, this, that, and the other. But, I mean, let's face facts here. And then I've got Kentucky to finish the season. I mean, this is what we're talking about here is a really tough spot for the Vols. That's when I think about tomorrow, I think about it it's just a difficult spot. Now, what do I think will happen? I think Tennessee will win the game, but I think it'll be a right to the wire, interesting college basketball game, which is what you get in this league at this time of the year.
Yep. And by the way, I'm with you. It has been a long time going back to my first years of doing SEC games in the late 80s. I think the league right now is as good. Back then, it was a power forward league with a lot of great power forwards. I look at it right now, and it's got kind of that same feel. And ESPN has mopped up on great Saturday night games that the SEC has provided them like we've never seen before.
George, the late, great Mike Slive announced, he said, look, we're tired of being an afterthought in hoops. I think it was the 1 year they got 3 teams in.
Yep.
And he said, we have to get to the ADs. He said it publicly. We have to start attracting better coaches. We have to. And, if I'm ESPN and I'm thinking, this is my partner going forward, what a time to have this as your partner, this league. Because when Texas joins a league, Oklahoma joins the league next year. Think about all the hoops combinations that you'll have. And look, the league is so darn competitive. That's why I want to give a message to my Vanderbilt family listening to me. You cannot just sit there. You now more than ever, you can't just sit there and choose not to compete at this sport when everybody in the league is competing. Ole Miss is competing. Mississippi State is competing. Every South Carolina is competing. You just can't sit there in Nashville and check collect. You can't do that.
Tony, the beauty of where you're going in football, that fan base will admit, look, it's a numbers thing, but they're pissed off at what's going on right now with this thing. They want a coaching change. They don't want this. They don't believe it has to be this way. And I like the fact that there's some anger that's starting to really flash out of this because it is their fan base saying, we ought to be better. We ought to be competitive. Anyway, I'm going to turn it to Kelly. I know he's had some microphone issues. Kelly, we're going to give it a try and see what happens.
Tony, can you hear me?
Kelly, I absolutely can hear you, and I hope you heard me talking about your washboard abs a few minutes ago. I know you are still in unbelievable condition.
I've been in and out of the. I'm having technical difficulties, which is not very good on my end because I don't know how to fix all that stuff. And Billy, you're thinking about hiring Billy. He's going to have to come to my house at some point and figure all this stuff out. But washboard abs, I used to have them, Tony. I don't have those anymore. I wish I did. I'm trying to get them back. I do some sit-ups and I exercise every day. So I'm trying to get them back at my ripe old age of 50, but I'm not there yet, Hoss. I appreciate it.
Next year, I'll tell you this: when we do the bowling tournament and I come down, we're going to have the George Plaster pose off as well for everybody that's there. And I'm looking greatly forward to the Plaster pose off.
I don't think we want to be that obscene.
Something to shoot for here.
I don't think we want that.
That is great. So I know that y'all been talking about Tennessee basketball a bunch, and I guess we all talk about Dalton Connect so much. And I remember last week George was talking about how I think in the Auburn game, I mean, it seemed like those guys kind of sit back and watched him score all those points at the end of 39, and then the other night got a little foul trouble, and Zakai Ziegler kind of came through for those guys. So it seems like somebody's stepping up at the right time on all these games.
That's why Tennessee's so dangerous. The other side of that with Connect is you've been around a lot of superstars, right? And in the sport of basketball, superstars at all levels are generally ball-dominant guys that want the ball. And when they're not going well, will literally shoot you out of a game. Dalton Connect the other night knew his role, and his role was, hey, look, this ain't happening for me. I'm going to facilitate for others. And he was making passes out of double teams, not calling his own number. That is extremely rare in that sport for a guy to be that deferential with that kind of offensive ability. Generally, those guys, when they don't have it, will continue to shoot, and shoot some more until you're out of a basketball game. And he did not do that. And guys, I'm going to tell you something. That is rare. And then he appeared on Scott Van Pelt's, the thing on ESPN. I guess they call that Sports Center, but he was on there with him. And Scott kept trying to get him to talk about his draft status and his draft this and draft that. And Dalton Connect said, look, he said, I'm here to play and I'm here to win. And I love my teammates. And he kept talking about his teammates. And then behind the scenes, Rick Barnes, they love this kid. They've loved him from day one. He works really hard. He's been very professional. He's been very respectful. We reported that on the eve of the Kentucky game, he asked Coach Barnes to facilitate a meeting with two of the seniors in Vescovy and Josiah Jordan James, because he saw that those guys were just sort of, what the term is, but they were becoming disengaged. And he looked at him and said, what do I need to do here, guys? Because I didn't come here to score points. I came here to win games. I came here to win a national championship. So how do we do that? And I think we've seen glimpses of that starting to manifest itself with him choosing to be more of a facilitator the other night. Because, I mean, George will tell you, having called that sport, the guys that score will shoot until they can't shoot anymore, but he's just not one of them. It's really interesting to watch this.
When you look at him, I mean, he's been there for a year. He's an unbelievably talented guy. We saw that. You're talking about all his accolades. He's been Player of the Week, which is, I think, it's the first time in Tennessee history, correct, that a guy has been a 4-time Player of the Week in the same season. Am I correct about that?
I think that's right, yeah.
So where is he going to go down? I mean, I know it's awful young, but like, where is he going to go down in the history of Tennessee basketball with just being there 1 year? I mean, I know that he's obviously he's a team player. Like you said, with the Scott Van Pelt deal the other night, he's not going to talk about himself, which that's the way I was always taught. But like, where is he? What are people going to think about this young man only being there a year, but he's done so much in just so little of a time?
Well, here's a great question for you guys, because this is it, right? What percentage, George, you live in the state and you're around Tennessee fans, what percentage of the grade is the postseason for this team, George? Like if you were a professor in a classroom, because that's how I'm going to answer how Dalton Connect's going to be remembered. What kind of finish am I going to have to this season?
Well, let me toss it back at you. I don't think the pressure is going to be on him as much postseason as it is Barnes. I think if you end up, if you end up in a scenario where Tennessee does not make it to the second weekend,
Barnes is the one that's going to hear it. Not
Barnes is the one that's going to hear it. I'm in total agreement with that. The pressure to me is on Barnes.
But Connect is viewed differently by the fan base if he's the guy that makes them run to the Final Four.
Absolutely.
He becomes Bernard King legendary here, for like that level. And that's what I'm saying. If he just goes out and they go out in the round of 16 like past teams have, then he becomes a guy that scored a lot of points, who was really fun to watch.
Now,
but I do get what you're saying. I think so much of this thing is dependent. Tennessee basketball right now is like one of those NBA regular season teams that win 60 games a year but can't function in the playoffs. That's how they're seen by their fan base. It's almost all about the darn postseason, which I hate, by the way, because I love the game and I love the season. But a lot of our fan base, it is all about this tournament coming up. It's all they care about.
So let me butt in on this one a minute, Kelly, if it's okay.
Yeah. Sure. You're the producer.
Sure I am. I think Purdue in this tournament brings some mental baggage from recent years when their guards couldn't hit the broadside of the barn. To me, Tennessee's mental baggage is a little bit different in the whole what you call regular season Rick. And to me, that's their mental baggage.
No doubt about it. And the history of the school. I mean, this place is just, the art of heartbreak it's studied here. Like, it's just an art, losing and finding different ways. I mean, we lost to Sister Jean. We lost to Florida Atlantic. I mean, that one year Tennessee lost to Purdue, Bruce Pearl went to their Final Four. I mean, it's just been, we saw South Carolina go to one during that time period. This fan base, it's like watching Gilligan's Island or something. We're never going to get off the island. And at some point, you got to get off the freaking island. I'm tired of, even Kelly is tired of staring at Marianne and Ginger.
On the island.
Oh, yeah.
Gilligan's Island.
The island.
Yes.
You didn't like Tony, you didn't like Ginger? I was a fan.
My wife listens to this show. I don't know what you're talking about.
Good answer.
Hey, Tony, before you leave, how did our boy Joe Milton do at the Combine? I know you love talking about Milton.
Joe Milton, they say, is the strongest arm in the world, man. That's what they said. Strongest arm in the world. Here's the deal with Joe Milton. It just takes one to fall in love, somebody to give him an opportunity. When your arm's that strong, somebody's going to give you an opportunity. Kelly, now I want you to be honest with me. When you watched him play, do you see a guy that's going to function well in the NFL? Now, let's be honest.
I do not. I've always said that. When he first came to UT and y'all were playing, I've always brought this up. When the first game of the year, when you had Pittsburgh at Neyland Stadium, and he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, and Josh Heupel and his offensive guys were just drawing up plays where there was guys wide open, and he could not hit them. I've never thought. I've always liked him because I thought that he's bided his time. He's had a lot of adversity he's had to go through. He became best buddies with Hendon Hooker, but I've just never thought he could play.
Billy, did Watson not say, though, last Friday that he thought Milton would have a pretty good career as a backup?
He did. He complimented Joe Milton. He said he was really well coached at Tennessee, and he said that he could be a really good backup.
Yeah, and I love Watson. He's told me that, George, on my show, and I love when you love Watson, but I mean, how much do you have to see? And I'm not downing Joe Milton, but the concept of him where it's a serious game at the NFL level.
Can't see
the concept of him, and he's not tremendously serious. No offense to him.
But remember, Watson did adopt you a couple of years ago.
Oh, Watson! Well, listen, Watson's taken me in. He's taken me under wing. He's taught me. He's taken me from a boy to a man. All that stuff. But even Watson's allowed to have a bad take every once in a while.
Right, and we're saying it's a bad take, but we've got to say, coming from him, you have to pay attention to it because the man does know some football.
There is no doubt about it. And he's also kind of the king of cool as well. You tell me a guy cooler than when Watson says, back in my days in school, and he does that Southern accent thing, that Cookville thing. George, awesome. the youngster in me melts. Oh, my gosh. I melt for Watson Brown. I love the guy.
He's the best. Okay, tomorrow night, what time's the South Carolina game?
7:00 Eastern. Please don't remind me, but we're on after the game, as soon as the game ends, over at tclub.team, or you could follow us and hear what we're really saying behind the scenes on Twitter Spaces. You get to hear me cuss and yell and scream like you do behind the scenes. See how the sausage is made.
Yes.
Billy, what's going on with this damn thing, Bill?
That's gotta be hard if you know people are listening to you.
Oh my God!
I mean, you probably had to change. Have you had to change what you say, Tony?
Not Billy.
I think
you know me. Do you think I ever change what I'm saying?
I'm glad we didn't have this back in the day. Tony, thank you as always.
George, I really appreciate you guys. tclub.team is where you can find me, and I hope you guys have a great day. Please tell me that Stackhouse guy doesn't have a $14 million buyout, guys. That's not right.
The same thing I've heard.
Yeah.
But given that it's a private school, you never know for sure. But that is certainly a number that's out there, a bunch.
No wonder he can afford those clothes he wears.
Well, he could afford it.
Guys.
He could afford it way before he got here.
Well, that's a good point. Thanks, guys.
See you, Tony.
Bye now.
Okay, after the break, we'll react to a couple of things that he put out there. Get ready. We're coming back.
Hit After Hit has become the baseball store in Tennessee. They have over 1,000 different models of gloves and over 1,500 wood bats. They also have several Iron Mike pitching machines as well as a Hit Trax machine. If they don't have it, you probably don't need it. We're proud to call Hit After Hit the official shirt provider of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night.
Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you. Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
We are back. Kelly, one of the things that has always intrigued me in all the NCAA tournament games that I've covered, and I guess I need to move over here just a tad.
No, Kelly, I think, is working on his mic real quick.
Is he? Is the whole, I'm trying to think of the words to say, when the better seeded team gets into the second half, and they haven't shot very well, and suddenly they're down by 8, and a crowd that went into the game about half asleep suddenly has gotten on board for the underdog, the 13 seed against the 4. And all of a sudden, sometimes, and I've seen it way too much, where the 4 seed just flat out panics. There is a panic level on the college level. It's game 7 in the NBA playoffs. You know, the NBA playoffs is a best 4 out of 7. And so only when you get to that 7th game does it feel that way. In the NCAA tournament, every game is game 7. I can remember when I was in college, I covered down at the Birmingham Jefferson Civic Center, UAB against Kentucky. And Kentucky was clearly the better team, but they couldn't put UAB away.
Coach Bartow?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, this is around 1980. And you get to the last 5-6 minutes of the game, the crowd, which did have a lot of Big Blue in the stands, but all of a sudden a bunch of people who were there for game 2 suddenly became UAB fans. Kelly, it's one of those phenomenons that makes the NCAA tournament so good. It's part of the reason we all love it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that their buttholes pucker up when it gets like that. When it's just like what we talk about with Danny Evans on here, expectations. When the expectation is you going into the game and you're a heavily favored team, and then things don't go that well because you got to put that ball in that cylinder basket. And if it's not going in, it seems like something's over that basket. Sometimes buttholes pucker up. It gets tight. People get anxious. The fans get anxious. And that's just how that stuff happens. And that's what makes the NCAA tournament so so lovely to watch, man, because you just never know if a team gets hot. It don't matter what seed they are, but if the lower seed gets hot and they can put a little pressure on the seed that's lower, you can have for some good action. And that's why people love the NCAA tournament every year, because you just don't know. And all these teams want is a chance. If you get a shot and a chance to move on and to play on, it doesn't matter who you're playing. You've got a shot to go after a national championship. And if you can get that thing into the fourth quarter and you can make that, that favored team sweat a little bit, you got a shot.
Yeah, and the biggest thing to me, Kelly, you talked about it, was the fans. I mean, that say it's a 4 and a 13 or whatever, that 13 seed, if it's close in the second half, will almost always have or garner more fans. And so they gain, if it's tight in the second half, they gain a home court advantage, and it's usually a pretty big one. It's usually by the fan base, the 5 seed, for example. The fans that are already kind of there in the second half waiting on that next game, because it'll be 30 minutes after, they're rooting for that 13, obviously. So that's just what it becomes, and you get a home court advantage almost automatically, unless you're playing Kentucky or somebody that already has a big fan base. So the way your fans travel, I think, really helps too, and maybe not in Kentucky's point of view, because they've struggled here the last few years, but the home court advantage is massive.
Kelly, I will always believe in my lifetime the team that has had the most pressure to bring home a national title. I was in college at the time, was the 78 Kentucky Wildcats under Joe Hall. And I've talked to Kyle Macy about this from time to time, about, what they dealt with. They get into, I want to say it was a second game of the tournament. They have been put at Stokely Center in Knoxville, and they're taking on Florida State. And things are not going well early. And I hope I'm right of exactly what I'm saying. If I'm not, remember, this has been a while ago. They're down 8 or 10, and Joe Hall makes a decision that he's pissed off with his starters, and he benches all of them for a pretty good length of time. And I always believed that if that decision had backfired, by the time they got back to Lexington, Joe Hall was going to be fired. But instead, it worked out right. They went on to win the NCAA title. Goose Givens had a massive final game against Duke at the old Checker Dome in St. Louis, and Kentucky won the national title. But it doesn't always work that way. There is a pressure, a finality to that event, the likes of which I don't think anything else in college quite has.
Alabama last year with Brandon Miller, overall number 1 seed, and they lose to San Diego State.
And lost pretty bad, if I remember correctly.
Beat pretty bad.
It happens.
Just never know. I mean, that's what makes that's why everybody wants to watch it. That's why everybody does all these brackets and all that, because it's just so intriguing about what's going to happen. And you never know. A huge underdog can beat a heavily favored team any day of the week. And that's why it's a must-see TV.
So, Billy, let's go to the break. Then we'll do stat of the day. God knows I need help in that department. And then Taylor Barnett will join us, and we'll get into his thoughts on what's coming. It's March, and that means madness.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com. Star Physical Therapy was established in 1997 with one great mission: to serve. If you're hurting, don't wait to receive physical therapy. You don't need a referral to see their physical therapist, and early morning and evening appointments are available. Make the call to 615-673-1420 and get rid of that pain. Star Physical Therapy, the official health provider of Football Friday.
You know, starting to save for your future doesn't have to be difficult. Let Wilson Bank and Trust help tone up your financial goals this year. Our certificates of deposits or CDs can help your money work harder with our competitive rates, earning you more than ever before. WBT checking options allow you to earn rewards you can really use, like a high interest rate or cash back on check card purchases when you meet some e-banking qualifications. Visit your closest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC.
Top of the hour on a Tuesday. We're talking college hoops with Taylor Barnett coming up. But first, stat of the day. And George, we're going baseball.
I haven't exactly killed it at that either.
No. Really, you guys are on the struggle bus right now.
Okay.
Okay, we're 15 days away officially from opening day in Tokyo. But in George's mind, what, more than that, 22, 23?
Yeah.
But what pitcher holds the record for most complete games in an MLB career?
Okay, so who knows what the answer is, but let me ask one question. Okay, is it somebody from back in the wee Willie Keeler era, or is it somebody whose name we would know?
You would know this name, and it was a pretty good while ago.
Okay.
Nolan Ryan.
Okay, you'd go Nolan Ryan. I would not. I'm going to go Bob Gibson.
Okay, that's a good one too.
Yeah.
That's final answer?
Yeah, why not? What the heck?
Incorrect. Cy Young.
No, hold on. I asked the question, is this way, way, way back?
Billy don't know that, George.
How am I supposed to know when Cy Young played?
Are you serious?
Okay, that was half a joke.
Do you think it was Bob Gibson, Nelson Briles, and then Cy Young?
I said good while ago. I mean,
well, I'm talking way, way back or short. I mean,
when was the first Major League Baseball game?
I'm declaring this a mistrial.
I mean, how many hints do you want me to give you?
Well, one that would help us. You deceived.
You want
Maybe
me to
not
just
intentionally.
Keep saying, I'll keep going further back.
Well,
George, he didn't do it. He didn't do it intentionally, man. It's just he's too young. He's wet behind the ears. He has no clue what era this is.
Listen.
I mean, relax. I mean, that's just you're killing me. Grow up, Billy.
You got anything new than grow up? I mean, anything else?
It works virtually every time. Let's check in with Taylor Barnett and see if he's wearing a sport coat or exactly
What's going on, guys?
What do we got?
He's all brushed out too, man. He's ready.
No, this is just a pullover with a polo underneath. No sport
you.
coat today, George.
Yeah, no, I didn't think you would. So I trust you're doing well.
Yeah, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. I was talking earlier about the uniqueness of the NCAA tournament and how several things happen to the favorite. If the favorite doesn't shoot well early and suddenly early in the second half, the 4 seed is trailing the 13, all of a sudden 3/4 of the arena who could care less about the 13, all of a sudden get on board with them. And the 4 seed starts to get tight because time's running out. They're supposed to win, and we got to start making shots. And Bubba, how much of that have you ever felt?
Yeah, for sure. I think everybody loves a good upset, and it's easy to root for the underdog um, when it's not your team playing. And if usually in the first couple of rounds, everybody's hanging out in the gym watching all the games, and if the underdog wins, and maybe your team's the lower seed that would have had to play the lower seed of the other game. So there's a lot of reasons to cheer for the underdog. But I think that's why people watch the NCAA tournament, is because there's so much story to it. There's always an upset. There's always a Cinderella team. I definitely felt it when we were a 15 seed at Belmont. We were playing Virginia in the first round, and I think everybody in the arena was cheering for us except Virginia fans. But it's so fun. I think that's what makes the NCAA tournament what it is that there's upsets, there's Cinderella stories, there's always one. So it's really an exciting time.
Where did you all play them?
We were in Charlotte.
Yeah. I've always loved, one of the great things about the NCAA is they force the arena to put a black tarp over the beer signs. Suddenly, that will bring Kelly in on this. Kelly, as though it will coerce the 18-year-old to 22-year-old to not have a boozola.
Boozola. I don't think I've ever heard that.
Me neither. I've never heard that one, George.
Boozola?
No.
Yeah. I don't know whether look, in some of the arenas they might, but that used to be the big thing. They'd put this curtain over it. It looked like a funeral,
Yeah.
It's the beer sign. And, we can't have the student athlete see that, for goodness sakes. So, Taylor, let's start with the important stuff. I have misrepresented Gonzaga. What I saw Saturday night was yet another in a series of, we all go in thinking St. Mary's has got a shot, and they took St. Mary's on St. Mary's home court, took them behind the woodshed, and said emphatically, "We're your daddy."
That's exactly what they said, huh?
I think so.
I think that everybody saw that them winning at Kentucky in Rupp Arena was, that's a statement. That's not easy to do. And so I think that Mark Few does what Mark Few does. I mean, they're always good. And maybe this team will make a run because they have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. They've had to play well down the stretch in order to make it into the tournament. And now they're projected to be in the tournament. And for a while, it was like, is Gonzaga going to be in it? Because every year, let's be honest, they're ranked in the top 5 a majority of the season. They're same old story. They don't play anybody. Their conference is easy, yada, yada, yada. Now this team's had to play for something down the stretch. And, maybe that'll give them a little bit of a chip on their shoulder going into the NCAA tournament.
Here's another one I think I got wrong. I gave up on Baylor last night. Before halftime, I said, you know what? Texas is going to win this. Texas was out of their mind in the first half. And I don't know what Scott Drew said at halftime, but it worked. How scary is Baylor athletically to have to play?
Yeah, I think the thing about Baylor that's really interesting is they're hard to prepare for because they play this kind of matchup zone that you don't see every night. So they're a little bit unique. They got shooting. They go. I forget what game I was watching. They go so hard to the offensive glass, and they steal a few possessions a game. I should say more than a few possessions a game with offensive rebounds. And they're so well coached. They've been there. They've now got a national championship underneath their belt. No game's too big for them. They're a scary team to play in March.
Can they make a run?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they could. I think that they have the shooting to do so. I think they have the offensive ability to do so. And like I said, I think they're not the easiest team to prepare for. They mix their defenses up. They play a zone that's unique. I think they could absolutely make a run. And let's be honest, like their league is so good. There's no off nights in that league. So there's not going to be any team that they see in the tournament that's not as good as the teams they've been playing all year.
Okay, as you know, SEC tournament here is next week. And it kind of comes down to now, it feels like we know that in some order, Tennessee, South Carolina, and Alabama are going to be in your top 3. Number 4 is very important because it also gets the double bye. It feels like we're at 3 teams that have got a shot at the double bye. Billy, if you will, let's put up the schedules. Now, on Kentucky's end, the Chamber of Commerce wants Kentucky not to be in the 4 seed, Taylor, so that they have to play an extra day. That
Right.
huge fan base comes in here a day earlier and, drinks into oblivion. I'm just telling you the way it is. But they've got Vandy and Kentucky as their final 2.
Tennessee.
Vandy and Tennessee is their final 2. Thank you. Auburn's got Missouri and Georgia. That appears to be the easiest of the 3. And Florida, which has really gotten a lot better, has Bama and here in Nashville to close out the regular season. Is it Auburn?
Yeah, I mean, if I was to make a guess, or if I was a betting man, I would definitely say Auburn. I think that, unless Missouri steals one, but it's Auburn's playing for something. They really are. This is a big deal to get a double bye. And I think Auburn's one of the toughest places to play in the country at this point. I really do. They get that place rocking. So I can't imagine they would lose to Georgia with that on the line at home. If I was picking out of these 3 and looking at the different scenarios, I do think that Auburn is gonna be that 4 seed. Although Kentucky, I think that Tennessee beat them at Rupp. I think they'll go into that game with a little bit of chip on their shoulder, and who knows? You never know what could happen. They might put up 180 points.
With Kentucky, who knows? Because when they're good, they're really good.
They are.
And when they're bad, they give up over 100 to Arkansas.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the deal with them right now. Kelly, say hello to Taylor.
Taylor, how big of a win was that for UT the other night? I mean, they go down to Alabama, and Alabama won 16 straight home games, and they go down there and they're Mr. Superman. I mean, he got in foul trouble and only scored 13 points. How big was that? And for Zakai Ziegler to come in and play well.
That's huge. Huge win. Hard place to win. And I think what you just said is spot on. Like, talk about like being Rick Barnes and that staff right now, feeling encouraged by winning at Alabama on the road against a really good team, and your star player who's, might win player of the year in the whole country, kind of has an okay game and is in foul trouble. That to me, if I'm Rick Barnes and that staff, I'm really encouraged.
How many teams do you think out of the SEC is going to the NCAA tournament? What do you think?
I think 7 or 8. I'm trying to think about all the teams in my head.
Well, are you eliminating on that answer A&M, Ole Miss?
I am. Yeah, I don't think either of them deserve to be in the tournament.
Or as Dickie V used to say, Kelly, NIT, baby.
Oh, yeah. That's pretty good, George.
That is pretty good. Let me ask you this. Like, George has talked about it too with Purdue. Purdue, it seems like they get to this point, they play well, they've got the Zach Edey kid, and then they get upset by somebody. They got a lot of pressure on them, but you look at Knoxville, and everybody calls him regular season Rick up there. Which, I mean, they both got some tension. They both got expectations where their fans think that they need to win the whole thing. Who's got more pressure, do you think?
Baggage.
I think the pressure is probably equal, honestly.
Yeah.
I think that both. I think there's a ton of pressure with both. I think SEC fans might be a little bit more crazy. But I mean, with Tennessee amazes me because it's pretty much the same exact team as they had last year, and they were really good, except you add Dalton Knecht, who's just a total outlier. I mean, he's an amazing player. So I think maybe that raised the bar even more. But I really do believe that they could go to a Final Four. I think they're that good. And I think that winning in Alabama when he doesn't have a great game says that. I think Purdue is legit. I think that they have the guard play and the shooting ability. this year to honestly too, Zach Edey, he really is a dominant force. But they have other guys around him that can step up. I think the pressure is very similar. I think the expectation is very high from both fan bases, and I think they both can make it to the Final Four. They're both really, really good. I think this actually might be a year of where the top 1s and 2 seeds actually go pretty deep into the tournament. I don't see a whole lot of upsets coming.
Yeah, well, we talked about it last week, and I asked you about the 4 games, and UT's through the gauntlet. They've won the first 2. Now they got South Carolina and they got Kentucky, and I proposed that to you that if they win those games, they should be a number 1 seed. But it seems like that the Lenardi guy, Joe Lenardi, he thinks they're a 2 seed either way. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, because they go down to Alabama, like I said, and they've won 16 straight games, and then they come back, and South Carolina's a tough out. But if they beat South Carolina and Kentucky, don't you think that gets them to the number 1 seed, maybe?
Yeah, there's definitely a chance of that. Joe Lenardi is not on the committee. He is accurate on a lot of things that he puts out there. I give him credit for that, but at the same time, like it's not 100% accurate. If they finish the season strong like that, the committee might have to take another look and be like, wow, that's impressive, especially considering how the other teams finish. The team that I've been really impressed with and am excited to continue to watch outside the SEC is Houston. I don't know if you guys have gotten to watch them, but I think Jamal Shed is an unbelievable leader and point guard, exactly what you want. They play so hard. They disrupt everything you do on offense, and they score enough points to win. I'm excited to see how Houston finishes out the season, if they're able to win the Big 12 tournament, and how deep of a run they can make. I think we very well could be seeing them in a national championship.
It's my last deal. Well, Houston they've got kind of some pressure too, because the last couple of years, I mean, they've been in it too and kind of got knocked out by somebody they didn't need to get knocked out by. So they got some pressure too. But my last deal is this, and this is going to be a hard question for you to answer. If you had a coach, all the coaches in the NCAA, who would you go for to take you to the NCAA Final Four or to win a national championship? You got the Bill Selfs, the Rick Pitino's, which ain't going to happen, but the Calipari, the Rick Bond, you got all those guys to choose from. Which coach would you take to get you over that hump?
And that's a great question. Honestly, the first person that comes to mind right now is Kelvin Sampson. I think that he gets the most out of his players. They play so hard for him, and their 3 guards, I mean, Shed, Cryer, and Emmanuel Sharp, those guys are really, really good, but they've stayed there and they've gotten better. And I know that he's tough on those guys. I mean, he is really hard on them. And so I think that he gets the most out of his players and gets them to play really hard. And when it comes to the NCAA tournament, hey, like you said, I think you said at one time, like, defense is desire. And those dudes, they desire to play defense and they disrupt you. And I think I would go with him and today.
Taylor, a matchup I would like to see. This Creighton bunch, they're not as athletic as some of these 4 teams we've put out there, but they shoot better than anybody. Can you imagine a Houston Creighton?
Yeah, that would be an entertaining game for sure. I would love to see. I think Creighton runs such good stuff. They have guys that really have a great feel for the game, know how to play. They would have a great game plan offensively. I'd love to see just those 2 conflicting, opposing wills go head to head. That'd be a great game.
Throw one more at you.
Okay.
I think when UConn buried Marquette, that we tossed Marquette out with the bathwater. Okay, about to pull a. Hold on here a minute. Let me see if I can do this. Not so fast, Lee Corso. Marquette's a team nobody wants to play.
No, I agree. Their guard, Kolek, is
tell
out,
me.
correct?
Yeah, I mean, he's. They will reevaluate.
He's out.
Reevaluate him at the end of the regular season.
Oh, that's massive.
It's huge.
I think it all depends on that, to be honest with you. I'm not saying they can't win without him, but I think he's awesome. I think he really makes them go. He just he shares the rock. He gets other guys involved. He's so under control. But those guys play hard. They defend well. Shaka Smart's got those dudes full of energy, ready to play. But I think it all does depend on him. If he doesn't play, it's going to be hard.
We're lacking a backdrop.
We'll get one. It's coming. Don't worry.
Next week?
Next week.
Amazon, baby. Amazon.
Hey, fun fact for you, George. You'll like this.
Okay, let's hear it.
In college, my dad was next door to Goose Givens, who you brought up earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Is he not Kentucky's color analyst right now on radio? Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah, I believe you're right.
I've heard him a few times.
I thought since you normally bring up Ross Boss, I thought I would just do it today for you.
You think Ross Boss is watching?
I think he's probably tuned in.
Say hello to him.
I think you are right now, but I will.
Talk to you soon.
See you guys.
See you, brother.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll go to the break. Yes, it was a football reference, Jeff. We're allowed that here on the show. Stay tuned.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, "You need to call Bart Durham." And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
The George Plaster Show is Nashville's best sports talk, 2 to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. There's a podcast version available on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Looking for more than just awards and trophies? Southern Trophy House is your one-stop solution. For over 60 years, their team has created lasting impressions with a personalized touch. From embroidery to screen-printed apparel to corporate awards, signs, and name badges, they have everything you need to keep your brand shining bright. With their knowledgeable customer service team, you can relax as they create, produce, pack, and ship merchandise and awards on time and on budget. That includes etched crystal awards, custom-cut acrylic name badges, embroidered Richardson ball caps, banners, screen-printed T-shirts, laser-engraved Yeti cups, and knives. Recognize your hard-working team from Southern Trophy House, where they do their best to help you recognize your best. Located at 2705 Nolensville Pike in Nashville, give them a holler, 615-256-7295. Visit southerntrophy.com. Southern Trophy House, for all your personalization and recognition needs. Kelly, how are you?
Good, man. You must have done well this weekend, did you?
Oh, God, no.
Oh, you
So,
did?
in fact, I'll kind of let Billy release the news.
Oh, we're going at it right now?
Well, no, he wants to know because he wasn't here yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
How I did Friday.
Well, I don't have the exact game, but I think you went 2 and you did have 2 wins, but your record is 46-59. But you got Duke last night at -5.5.
Way to go. Way to go, Blue Devils. By the way, that guy's done a pretty good job under really tough circumstances. Talking about
Absolutely.
John Shire.
Yep, he was
John
a
Shire, yeah.
player he was one of my favorite players to watch on that national title run for Duke in 2012, I want to say.
I mean, I've got to think anytime it doesn't go well, that there's a group out there going, well, he's no Coach K.
Well, no blame. I mean, nobody's going to be Coach K.
Right. But that's my point is he's taken it under tough circumstances. Now, what we don't know is it simply because K left him with a pretty loaded stack? I don't know. I look at them and it's Philip Kowski and then a group behind
Some pretty
that.
good guards.
It's pretty good. But, in the past, they've had better talent than what I see right now. Would you buy that?
Yeah, and there's been a perception that Coach Shire is softer than Coach K. And, he's got kind of that softer coaching style where they may not be as physical on the defensive end, but they'll score and they'll light the scoreboard up, but they may not guard. And that showed against Tennessee last year in the NCAA tournament. Tennessee just flat out bullied them. So I'll be interested to see, are they a little bit more physical in the NCAA tournament? But no, I mean, they're not Zion, Williamson. They had R.J. Barrett and that great team. But even that team, wasn't able to make a run. So you never know. You can be the most talented team, but
I wouldn't put Philip Kowski at superstar level. Really good, but not. I wouldn't say superstar.
No, really good, but not. I mean, it's been a few years now since they've had an elite, superstar. But I think he's doing a fine job overall.
So
I agree. I think. Yeah, I agree. I think he's done really well, and it's hard. It's always hard. Like it's going to be hard for the guy at Alabama, the DeBoer guy, to follow Nick Saban. I mean,
gosh,
you've got Coach K. I mean, it's one of those deals where you got to have some gonads to step in that position, and he's done. I think he's done pretty good.
Speaking of DeBoer, not to kind of go football here, but how early do you think? I mean, because if they go 10-2 and make the playoffs, I think their fans will be. I don't know if they'll be satisfied because, I mean, Alabama, they got to go 12-0 for that fan base to be satisfied. But how early does it start to get ugly for him? Because looking at their schedule,
who knows?
They've got WKU, USF, at Wisconsin. A game they should win. Georgia at home. If they lose that Georgia game, probably not quite meltdown. Vandy, South Carolina, at Tennessee. That Tennessee game's not going to be easy. If they lose that Tennessee game, that's especially after losing to Georgia, that's when it might start to turn for DeBoer.
Billy, I think one of the things that's going to go on, and frankly, I think it's going to go on in basketball too, is you throw Oklahoma and Texas in the mix. Okay?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the days of just being able to automatically, if you're at the top of the league, go 11-1 in football,
over.
Probably over. The days in basketball, if the trend continues that Texas is really good, OU, to me, in basketball is not what they have been. This particular team, they're all right. And I'm guessing Oklahoma bubble at this point.
Yeah.
So you toss them into the league. I mean, the days of being able to go like 16-2, they might be over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
You got Texas and OU coming in. That's not, that's not A&M and Mizzou coming in. A&M and Mizzou came in. A&M kind of right away had some success. So did Missouri, but it was not like, what it feels like with OU in Texas, even though A&M and Missouri held up their own early.
And just like what Tony said too, man, they've got really good coaches now in the Southeastern Conference in basketball. Like that's, they were always kind of known for football. It's been a football league, but now, they've got some guys that can actually coach in that league. Like, the Beard guy at Ole Miss and now the Lamont Paris guy at South Carolina. They got some dudes that can coach basketball. It was kind of known as a women's league, but now basketball, man, when you're taking 7, 8 teams to the NCAA tournament, it's pretty good.
It probably was a good thing, and I don't remember the exact year that it all bottomed out with 3 teams going.
Yeah.
Because that forced, and I think it was Slive that sort of went to the league meetings when they got together in May and was like, we got to do something. I think he'd already issued the edict to the presidents. We're not where we need to be. And if you're going to get the kind of money that you want to get, basketball is going to have to be up there too. It can't be football up here and basketball down as the 5th or 6th best conference in America, which is what it had kind of become.
Yeah, I think it was 2009. Only Georgia, LSU, and Tennessee made the NCAA tournament. And Georgia that year had barely gotten in because they beat Tennessee in that 2009 SEC tournament championship. So there was really only going to be 2, LSU and Tennessee, and then Georgia got in. So that's how bad it was. I mean, they could have only had 2 that year. And so with Mike Slive, like Tony said, without that move, who knows if it changes at all,
Yeah.
Because I think the basketball success is connected somewhat. Now, the move for Oklahoma and Texas and A&M and Missouri, really, I think it's connected to basketball a little bit. I mean, they had to – that's probably what they looked at, saying, hey, we're looking at expanding down the road. We can't just be awful at basketball any longer.
I think I was looking at the overall standings. I mean, I think in Missouri and Vanderbilt, the only 2 teams of the Southeastern. I know Arkansas hadn't done very well, but they're still like 15 and 14.
Yeah.
I think there's only 2 teams that are under 500 with wins. I mean, y'all are talking about Ole Miss, and Ole Miss is 20 and 9 on the year, and they're not even going to. Y'all don't think they're going to make the NCAA tournament? I mean, that's pretty legit for a conference to have only 2 teams that have losing records.
Yeah, what you're seeing too, it used to be where it was kind of just everybody beat each other up in the SEC, and there was a top tier with 2, maybe 3, some years maybe 4 teams, and everybody else was kind of hovering around 500. And so, but now you've got, Kelly, you're right, you're kind of 7, 8, 9 teams deep, and even the teams at the bottom are like LSU 16 and 13. They've gotten hot here. Similar like Vanderbilt did last year, getting hot. It's just hard when you do it late. LSU's got no shot. But still, there might be that 11 seed might be a pretty darn good team and, able to make a run in the tournament.
Be interested to see. I know a couple of weeks ago, I really believed this, that Mississippi State, Ole Miss, A&M, one of the 3's going to Dayton. And I still think it's possible, but it's becoming less likely. In Ole Miss's case, they got to start doing some winning, serious winning, as in get some people's attention at the tournament in Nashville. They're one of the teams that really needs the tournament because they're going to have the opportunity to get some quad ones, which they desperately need. A&M, I cannot figure A&M out. There were people who had them at the top of the league at the beginning. I just don't see the firepower. You see it every once in a while, like the night they ripped Tennessee apart down in College Station. But for the most part, you don't see it out of A&M.
No, you don't. And there's 7 teams right now in the field, according to Joe Lunardi. And I know there's some people out there that don't listen to Lunardi, but I mean, there's a lot of people. There are a lot of people that are.
His accuracy's pretty darn good.
Tennessee is a 2 seed right now. Alabama's a 3. Auburn and Kentucky are 4s. South Carolina's a 6. So they've had, they've had some losses here down the stretch. Florida's a 7. Mississippi State is in as an 8 seed. So, George, I think Mississippi State, they're comfortably in right now because they've had some really good wins. And so I think it might be down to A&M and Ole Miss for that potential 8th team to get in, because next 4 out, A&M and Ole Miss. So that's what you're looking at, and that was 20 minutes ago. So I think Mississippi State is pretty comfortably in right now.
I think they're
and out of Ole Miss and A&M,
only a total collapse would get State out.
Yeah, and out of Ole Miss and A&M, I take Ole Miss before A&M right now.
Yeah,
not saying I would take either, but I don't see it in A&M.
NIT, baby.
That's pretty good earlier.
Okay, you want to... Well, the other one he used to use a lot, when somebody would have a big dunk, he'd give you a lot of slammo, bammo, jammo.
Jammo.
Yes.
All right, here we go. Plaster's Bet of the Day, brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. Let's see. We already reviewed.
We've run on hard times.
Yes.
Thank God for Duke. But Kelly, tonight, Tuesday night, by the way, again, it is becoming what Wednesday night used to be. It's the middle of the week. Tuesday night is now the big night. Bigger than Wednesday. Thursday's not even close.
Yeah.
So, not 1, not 2, not 3.
Oh, you got 4?
Quattro.
Wow. Okay, George.
Let's see if we can explain these. Billy. Okay. So, when I watch Purdue, they do look like the total package. They look like when they get to the tournament, their guards are going to shoot. Now, if their guards open tournament play and miss their first 7 threes, let's come back and talk. But this is a really good test of just what Purdue is. Illinois will guard you. They got a great shot maker in Marcus Damask, transfer from Southern Illinois, who I think has added a real offensive weapon that Illinois needed. That said, the big kid is going to be the difference. Go Boilermakers.
Hey.
Yeah. Watch that one. If you get a chance, that will be a terrific college game.
At Illinois.
Yes. That's why it'll be. If the roles were reversed, Illinois at Purdue, maybe not.
Mm-mm.
This one, man, this is a hard one. Florida has gotten a whole lot better, and I think Alabama is going to go down there with an old hangover, a Tennessee hangover. They put a lot of eggs in that basket because Tennessee dusted them in Knoxville, and they wanted to show Tennessee that, we're your equal. And for about 34 minutes, they were. And then it fell apart late. I think this is a tough rebound game for Alabama because Florida has gotten a ton better with a really good front line. This guy at Florida, Golden's done a nice job there.
Yeah, if Lamont Paris doesn't exist, he's probably coach of the year.
So 2 really razor-thin margins in the first 2. Move on. Okay.
You're going with the Red Raiders again.
This is what sucks when you try to pick games. Texas Tech is clearly better than Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State is nowhere near what they have been. That said, every time I try to go Texas Tech, they screw me over. This is their last chance, Kelly. If it doesn't work, never again.
Good luck with that one, George. You've already bet on them a couple of times, and it hasn't happened.
What was didn't I take them against Texas, and they got beat by 30?
They lost by 30.
Yeah,
yes.
that was not good. And last, but certainly not least, UNLV's better. but not better enough. CBS Sports Network tonight at 10 o'clock.
Jerry Tarkanian is not walking through that door.
Robert Parrish is not walking through that door. So we got 4 really tight ones, low spreads, and Billy, not all of them at home.
No, mixing it up a little bit.
Yeah, trying to find, just like Andrew Barnett when they weren't doing well, looking for combinations, looking for a line change. We're desperately in need of a good night. Kelly, I know you'll be rooting for me.
Yeah, you found it. I'm going to pay attention to those games. I got to meet Coach B the other night at the state championship game. My kids used to go to PCA, so they were in the state game with the team out of Memphis.
Right.
And it came down to the end, and then PCA ended up getting beat by 2, which I could not believe. And then I went down and met Coach B, and that was pretty cool. Him and Joe Fisher were doing the game.
Good stuff.
What a crew.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was nice. Yeah,
hope Joe's doing well.
He looked like it. He had a Band-Aid hanging off his neck right here where he must have cut himself shaving, and then it was hanging down here, and he was still talking away. I wondered if Coach B, I wanted to say, "Hey, Coach B, I mean, can you help the man out and tell him that his Band-Aid's off?"
Come on, help him
out. He was just. I guarantee Coach B was down there looking at it and laughing, or he might not even have known. I don't know.
Let me guess. Coach B said, "What's going on, quarterback?"
Yeah, he was asking me what I was doing now, other than the podcast with George and Billy, and I said, "Yeah, nothing, Coach."
and he thought, that lazy bum. Hey, guess where we are tomorrow?
I know, because I'm going to be there. I'm going to try to get there.
Yes.
Oh, on site.
A rare on-site visit by Kelly Holcomb. We're broadcast live from the National Football Foundation's annual chapter dinner, and looking forward to that. Kelly, try to behave, try to dress up for the occasion.
Well, we're both going to be in tuxes, so Billy, go buy you a tux. You've got to be a tux because we're all going to be there together tomorrow. So you've got to present yourself nice.
Because I'll shell out some money.
Well, you need to shell out some money on a tire, Hoss. I'm tired of hearing that.
We're out of here. See you tomorrow.
See you.